If you listen to the show, you already know that we cannot exist without our sponsors. They are the ones who make things happen behind the scenes. So let's acknowledge Fuji Sports. We've been working with these guys for a while now, not only as far as this podcast is concerned, but also at the RŌL Academy. We've had their gear. I personally use their gis. What a phenomenal product.
Yeah, I mean, jiu-jitsu, judo, MMA, tape, bags, anything you need for your jiu-jitsu journey, you can find at fujisports.com.
Let's talk RŌL TV. There's so much content on there. It's ridiculous at this point. But I think what is even more intriguing, as time went on during the project, we've been recording most of the events that were taking place here at RŌL Academy. At this point, I mean, we have guys like Chris Howder, Armin Fati, Rafael Lovato Sr., and Pete the Greek. I mean, there are so many different events that we've kind of recorded it. Don't you think that's amazing? I mean, points of reflection and kind of going back for all the students to see what really happened and refresh their memory.
Yeah, I think it's great, you know, being able to go back and look at all these high-level practitioners, Octavio Cudo, like one of the names you didn't mention. And I mean, just these guys that have been doing this for so long come in, teach these amazing seminars and workshops, and it's all recorded and there for you to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to get additional savings on all this, type in code RŌL Radio at the coupon and get additional 30% off of your membership.
Nice. Go to rolacademy.tv. What's up, everyone, and welcome back. If you haven't already, please hit the like, share, subscribe, download, listen, and whatever other button there is, and leave us a review wherever you do listen. This ensures that we can continue bringing you the great guests and amazing content that you've come to expect. Today's guest joins the show to discuss his journey from a kid in Israel who loved martial arts to a pro MMA fighter, the impact training in Japan had on his life, the importance of mentorship, and more. Here's the RŌL Radio with Ultimate Self-Defense Championship Season 2 competitor and current UFC lightweight fighter, Natan Levy.
Welcome to RŌL Radio.
And we are live. Another great conversation ahead of us. Natan, thank you for being here. Thanks for stopping by. And as I understand, you just finished training. Is that true?
Yeah, I'm always either before training or after training.
That's right. That's the life of a fighter, right?
Mm-hmm.
How much of a training do you do before we get into your story and all of this? Like, what did your morning look like before you jumped in on the call with me?
Today I did a boxing session, about 1 hour between the warm-up, footwork, and then hitting some pads. Then I'm going to rest, going to get some physical therapy after this. And then I'm going to do some jiu-jitsu tonight.
That's right. That's important, isn't it?
Very.
What's
and
interesting...
fun.
What's interesting about your story, and before we start recording, I mentioned this to you, is that you come with a extensive variety of backgrounds. There is a lot of striking that took place early on in your life, and obviously you have experience in jiu-jitsu and MMA as your desired goal, if you will, of what you want to do and what your life looks like. Why so many different things? Why so many different arts that you've dipped into?
Well, first, growing up in Israel, being, born in the 90s, there was no Google and all that stuff. It was very hard to find. Actually, I wanted to find an MMA gym because I used to watch, Pride, download it from Kaza, if you know.
Oh, yeah.
And,
all good times, right?
Yeah, and you download Krokop versus Fedor and you get some X-rated film instead. But yeah, that's how I used to watch fights, and I wanted to do MMA, but I didn't know even where to begin. So I ended up finding a different martial arts since there was no MMA in Israel, and started from there.
What was so interesting about martial arts at that point? I mean, Is MMA, is UFC popular at that point of time, or even Pride? This is, even very different. Some of the guys who are listening to this, right, they don't even know what Pride is. I mean, we are dipping way back in the day where the cool stuff was happening, right? But is MMA popular in Israel at that point of time?
Not at all. Not at all.
Why are you interested in this?
Well, I always had like an interest in martial arts from watching Rocky when I was a kid. I wanted to be a boxer. And then I saw a kickboxer with Van Damme. So I wanted to be a kickboxer. And then, I grew up like in Israel, but in a French household. So we had like some French channel. And one of them had the UFC on, talking like early UFC. So that intrigued me as well. And I kind of, thought that was MMA, like bare knuckle. At that time, it even like went past it, but I still thought it was like, oh, this is bare knuckle fighting, no rules. So that was pretty cool to me. But as far as training, I didn't really have, I would start 2 weeks of Taekwondo, quit. A month of karate, quit. Just because I wasn't disciplined enough. I was young and I didn't have the right mindset for it. I did want to train. I had like a big interest in martial arts, and also, like I said, the movies, the anime, Dragon Ball Z, which that's how I learned English, by the way, watching Dragon Ball Z. So it all like always made me want to fight, but I didn't have where to put that energy.
Why do you think you were quitting, or going, not even quitting, but going back and forth between these things? Taekwondo, and I'm going to take a break. Karate, I'm going to take a break. I mean, if this is such a high interest to you, why not stick with it? What was the reason?
Good question. I think one thing, not that I'm blaming, is like, I grew up with my mother, and when I told her I want to quit, okay, right? She had enough trouble raising 3 boys by herself. She didn't need to start, fighting with me over Taekwondo. I'm sure of it. But if you do have the bandwidth for it, obviously it's good to like force your kid to keep training, or like, help them go through the commitment. Like, we started this, we're going to finish the year. We're going to finish, some goal. You're not just going to quit the day you're tired of it. And sometimes I wanted to quit because it was too boring, too easy. Sometimes I wanted to quit because it was too hard. Sometimes, a holiday, we have a ton of Jewish holidays.
Mm-hmm.
You do a holiday, you go somewhere for a week, 2 weeks, you don't train, then you come back. Today I don't feel like it. It happens to adults. It happens to everybody. So as a kid, you're obviously like susceptible to it. And just not enough commitment and discipline.
So where did the change come from? I mean, today you are very disciplined. You're very driven. I mean, obviously this is your life is surrounded by all of this. And even just now we were exchanging messages right before this, and you were like, I'm running from the training, and I might be a couple minutes late and all of this. I mean, clearly this is important to you. At which point in your life this changed? At which point in your life you realize that this needs to be that way?
So when I'm 15, 14, I find a MMA gym. It's called like, it's not MMA, it's a combined martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a mix of judo, so like judo takedowns and ground technique,
mm-hmm.
and karate on the feet. Pretty much like an MMA for people who have no MMA.
Right.
And third world country MMA. And I train, and I'm actually pretty committed. I train for 6 months. I get, I improve. Nothing, no exceptional talent or anything discovered. And then I join high school, and I start chatting with the guys, from a different school. They combine us together in high school. You train, what do you do? Oh, I do combined martial arts. What do you do? Oh, we do Kung Fu. Our coach is crazy. We do this, we do that. I'm like, wow, no way. This sounds insane. Let's go over to the patch of grass and spar in school.
Just like that, huh?
Just like that. So we start sparring. and the dude's like kicking my ass, tiny guy. And like I said, I wasn't great, but I thought like at least with my size, I was gonna be able to beat him. And then he like spinning back fist me like right here. Everything like swells up. So we're like, okay, let's stop, And he's like, come train with us. So the next week, I show up to this Kung Fu training. They tell me to come at 7:30. Okay, I open the door to the gym. First thing I see is somebody getting wheel kicked in the face. Like cloud of sweat flying in the room. And I'm like, holy shit, the coach is like, you're late. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. They told me to come at 7:30. He's like, 50 push-ups on your fingers, 50 on your knuckles this way, 50 on your knuckles this way, and like 50 others, I don't remember, like 200 push-ups. Like, okay, I never done that many push-ups. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able. Just do it. Okay. Start doing it. I've been training, okay, 30, 40, 50 push-ups, I'm good. Then the rest, like, was very hard, very, difficult. And every time he comes over and he's like, checking on me, I'm like, sir, I think I can't anymore. He's like, there is no can't. Keep going. Let me know when you're done. All right, I keep trying. Obviously, they're not perfect, but I keep pushing myself and get to that 200. All right, now you're going to do jump squats until I tell you to stop. So you start jump squatting, you jump. At some point, you can no longer like disconnect from the ground. You're just squatting, like you can't elevate anymore. Keep going. Okay, now you're done. Now you're going to do some techniques, punches. He teaches me how to like block, how to punch. We're doing karate blocks. And then he puts me in front of somebody. Hands have to be, karate, kung fu position.
Mm-hmm.
And the dude in front of me just slaps me very hard.
In your face?
Yeah, and I'm supposed to block it.
Uh-huh.
But I'm not fast enough. I don't have the reaction time enough. So it's boom, slap. And you're in horse stance. Your legs are shaking. You're like, you want to cry because the guy is slapping you in the face.
That's your first day.
Yeah, that's my first day.
Whoa, welcome to training.
Well,
I mean,
welcome to Cobra Kai.
Welcome to the Cobra Kai, right? How old are you at then? 15, 16?
15.
So, okay,
Yeah.
so this is very eye-opening. This is like a cold shower, essentially, right? Like you watch these matches on TV or wherever you download them from, and you think you kind of have an idea what is going on, that you can fight, quote unquote. You kind of hang in there with the guys, in the backyard or wherever you guys were sparring, and then you go to this place, and it's like very different, isn't it?
Very different.
What is going through your mind? Like, you came here to train, and now you can't move. Plus, you're getting slapped all around.
Yeah,
What's going through your mind?
I have been warned before I went there.
Uh-huh.
That's what I was like, oh, that's intense. That sounds crazy. But to me, at that point, the training I was doing, it felt like, not that I was on the level, but it did feel a little soft. And I wanted something more hardcore. And maybe I didn't have MMA as I wanted, but the Kung Fu was very hardcore. And I was suffering, but I was not bored. That's for damn sure.
Oh, that doesn't sound like you were. Are you, during the first day, at any point of time, do you want to walk out of there? Are you thinking like, this is this is crazy?
Man, I don't know if I thought that was an option. Like, I don't know if I had the, how do you say, like the freedom of movement. I didn't know. I didn't know it was like an option to just say, hey, I'm not interested. Thank you. Like, I was just stuck there. In my mind, I was like, okay, I have to do what he tells me. And this sucks. But like, I'm trying. I keep trying. So the day ends, you go home, and are you thinking about any of this? Do you process this in your mind? What in the world just happened here? Like, are you thinking, I want to go back? Or are you questioning whether this is normal? Like, what's going through your mind? I mean, you're 15 years old, so
You're not even an adult at that point.
Yeah, I'll tell you how it ended. 2 things. First of all, he had us in horse stance, and he came with a broomstick, and I was sure he was going to hit us in the balls with it. And again, I didn't think I had like the option to run away. So I was just like, oh, please don't do that. And then he just put it on our hands and let us like suffer a little bit in horse stance, holding the stick. So we didn't get hit in the balls. And last thing was like butterfly stretch. That was the end of the class. Everybody was very flexible. He just stood on them. No big deal. My legs were like less than 90-degree angle.
He didn't stand on, did he?
He stood on one leg. The other leg went like this way.
Yeah.
Shoved it all the way to the ground. I start screaming. And he's like, count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Stop. Again, count to 10 calmly. 1, 2, 3, 4. Come on, please. Stop. Please get off me, please. He's like, nope. I'm not going to get off you until you count to 10. I realize I have no escape route. I count to 10 calmly. And then he gets off me. But at that moment, I have like an epiphany that I couldn't escape the situation. The only way was like through it by calming down. And when I did calm down, it still was painful, but not as painful as when I was resisting. And resistance didn't do anything. So I kind of realized that like, one, I was so scared of it and now it's behind me. It's already over. And calming down and going through it, more accepting of it, made it easier. And now it's in the past. It was a nightmare, but now it's in the past. And now I look at my legs and they're like staying there on the floor. Class was over. He came up to us, told us good job, like me and one more friend who came with me. And it was like 90% of the people who showed up for the first class don't come to the second one. 90% of the people who show up to the second one don't show up to the third, etc., etc. So it was nice to meet you guys. Pretty much saying like, okay, I know you're not going to come back.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. And that also was like a little challenging, like,
yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm going to prove him wrong.
You're going to prove him
show
wrong.
up again.
So I assume you did show up.
Yeah, I did show up. And for the first month, 6 months, my knees would shake before every class. Like I'd have like fear before every class. And we would spar. Slowly again, I got better. We would spar, no gear at all. No mouth guard, no gloves. We would spar hard. Kicks were allowed to the groin.
Bare knuckle to a groin, huh?
Yeah, bare knuckle, we would like open hand slap hard and like close fist, like half close, but
yeah,
like we would punch it this way to the face, like show it, but people would get cuts all the time. And pretty quickly, it went from like showing up twice a week to the beginner's class. That was the beginner's class. To, showing up 3 or 4 times a week. Moving to the advanced class, so coming into the beginner, staying all the way to the end of the advanced, so like 3 hours of training. And then some people were doing privates. The coach, took me under his wing, would bring me as a partner for the privates. So pretty quickly I was training like twice a day, 3 hours at a time. Like that became my life. I would go to school. I was in 10th grade. I would go to school. There'd be nothing in my bag except a gi. The moment school is over, go to the gym and spend the whole day there.
What do you think would happen if this kind of first class was introduced today?
Police, assault charges, cancel culture. Man, I don't know.
This is years later, right? What are your thoughts on this? Do you think this was too hard, or do you think this is what you needed?
In hindsight, this is what I needed. Could it have been a bit more balanced? Sure. Was there a lot of people that got injured? Yes. Not as many as you think, but still maybe Sometimes he had us like break bricks or stuff like that. Like I once like had like, I don't know how to say, like a fracture.
Mm-hmm.
Not like completely broken, but
Or fractured. Yeah.
yeah, like couldn't train with this arm for 6 months. Yeah, I did other stuff. I still showed up to training, but like, why? What is that good for? But it made us tough mentally, physically. We were all like all in, like all the students. We were all in. If the coach and one of the training style was he'd put a headband on our eyes,
Blindfolded,
so you can't see anything, blindfold.
Yeah.
And he would have us run towards a wall. There'd be people holding pads, and the moment you're about to hit the wall, they're gonna hit you with the pad in the face. They're gonna catch you, but you gotta sprint blindfolded.
So you don't know when the hit is gonna happen. Yeah.
You don't know when the hit is gonna happen, and if you hesitate, if you like stop again until you learn to sprint without knowing where you are in the room. They could be right here, they could be on the other side of the room. You don't know, and you gotta sprint like just make you crazy.
It appears to me as training like this definitely develops this very strong mindset of you just have to do, let your fears go. You can do hard things. At the same time, there's a lot of wear and tear. There could be a lot of injuries, and safety might be questioned here, right? Like all of that is. Do you think that that's a right approach to situations like this? I mean, like I'm thinking, like if this happened today. Well, let me ask you a different question. This is a better one. Let me ask you this: do you think we are spoiled today with the way how we train?
I do think so. On one hand, I think like it built me mentally.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I feel a lot of it is not necessary. And today, as a fighter, I don't train like this at all.
I would hope not.
Yeah, but on the other hand, sometimes let's say, I have my wrist hurts. I'm not going to train with it. I'm going to tape it. I'm going to work opposite stance, opposite hand, all this stuff. And sometimes I stop and think, and I'm like, bro, if this was like, I tell myself, bro, if this was, when you were young and you would punch the wall with it, you wouldn't give a shit. Like, did you become soft? I'm like, again, with myself, like, no, I'm trying to like keep it safe because if I have a fight, and start camp, I need to be healthy. Like,
there's a balance.
There's a balance, but sometimes, we're definitely soft.
Yeah. Do you think that this is going to get even softer as time goes on? Or I guess the question is, are we getting softer or are we getting smarter?
That's it. We're getting smarter, no doubt. Sometimes to be smarter, you got to be a little bit softer.
Yeah.
For example, hard sparring, hard shots to the head.
Yeah.
I don't see like it helping above a certain point. You got to do it sometimes to imitate a fight. But man, some people do it way too often and way too much and way too hard and try to prove way too much in sparring. I can tell like I never been knocked out in a fight ever. I've been hit pretty hard. I've been rocked. Every time I got rocked, I took a step back. I danced a little bit. Maybe I went for a takedown. I think the reason I didn't get knocked out is because I didn't try to hit the guy twice as hard immediately. And I think some people do that in sparring. Like they'll get hit hard, they'll try to get hit twice as hard and get countered and get knocked down in training, get knocked out in training. Like, bro, if your health bar just got hit, let it recover a little bit before you put yourself in a position to decrease it again. That's how I see it.
At which point in your life are you becoming smarter? At which point do you say these old school methods are not necessarily working well, or we can do this better? We don't have to take all this pain and risk upon ourselves. At which point you are learning to change your ways?
Only a few years ago, I think.
Really?
I mean,
Go ahead.
When I transitioned to MMA, we can get how it happened, but I I started doing what my coach here was telling me to do in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it was, recovery. A lot of it was like a lot of hard training, of course, but an emphasis on recovery. First time he put, foam roll in my hand, I was like, what is that? And he's like, you need to roll on it, that your muscles that are sore, it's like a massage. I was like, I never had a massage by then. Didn't know what this foam roller thing was. I just like rolled around on it to make him happy. And, and that was it. Like that was recovery. And with the time, I realized that my back started hurting, my knees started hurting, my wrist started hurting, my neck started hurting. And in Vegas, I would train a lot. So only in recent years, I'm like, you know what? I'm only training twice a day. If I don't feel like it, if I don't feel recovered, I'm going to train once a day. If I feel like shit, I'm going to skip practice. Not because I'm lazy, but because I want to actually do better next time I show up in the gym. I don't want to be a punching bag. And sometimes I used to show up to training drained, like 5th training session of the day, drained, and I'd be a heavy bag, and I'd be like, yeah, but I got 5 sessions in. Who cares? Like, do the quality, not the quantity.
And I think that's really interesting because even if when you're not professional, when you're just a hobbyist, whether you train MMA, striking, or jiu-jitsu or ground, whatever it is, having that balance is so important. I mean, there are so many guys who will train so much because they love it, and then they get hurt. And once you get hurt, you can't train anymore, or at least your training is very ineffective, right? So what is that balance? Like, do you have this in your mind, or there is a little bit more of a recipe, if you will, how you approach your training?
Yeah, honestly, it's still hard to this day to find the balance. It's like a learning curve that really never ends. For me, is the balance between training and recovery, and between the types of training. Like, how many times a week do I spar? How many times a week do I do jiu-jitsu? Because nothing, sucks more than like training for a year and feeling like you really haven't improved in anything.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you did, maybe you didn't, but it just doesn't feel good. It's not fun. It's you're always getting ready for a fight, and unfortunately for me, I had a lot of fights canceled. And you tell yourself like, oh, a year went by. I was supposed to fight 2-3 times. They all got canceled. And I haven't even really improved. I don't feel like I was always getting ready for some fight.
Nate, is it in our mind that we think we're not improving? I mean, technically, if you're training, even if it's a lousy training, I mean, we are improving, aren't we? I mean, like, do we ever not improve when you're training on a regular basis?
I think we can not improve. I think it's very possible. One is like training. Oh, I'm training, but you're burnt out. Your brain is fried. You're not receptive to anything. Again, you think, oh, I got this big fight. I got to train 4 times a day. But at the end, you're just not improving. And also every time you show up to a session and you're tired, you get smashed. And it's actually killing your confidence.
Mm-hmm.
It's teaching your body to always work at I'm tired and I got to keep my energy to not gas out completely. That's the pace you learn to operate in. I'm telling you like this from my experience. This is what I feel I've been through. And at some point, I used to be super explosive. When I first came from from karate, kung fu karate was what I was doing. Everything I did was like 100% speed and power. That's how I learned to operate. And yeah, I gas out, but it's okay. And then here I learned in Vegas to I got to hold 5 minutes on the bag. I got to hold 5 minutes in sparring. So I got to pace myself. But then add to this that I'm already tired from 3 other sessions. I got to really pace myself. Now I'm working like a turtle. I'm like slow, not throwing anything too hard, not throwing anything too fast because I'm always trying to keep that I don't gas. So I feel like overtraining, and plus being overtrained, which makes you literally sick. But I feel like overall there is too much training, and there is training that is not helping you.
Not effective. Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
effective.
How do you switch your mind from this go, 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 train hard, don't ever give up, push constantly, you can do these things, to train hard, to train smart, to be a little bit more intelligent about this? I mean, you're describing 3 or 5 sessions a day, plus in these specific situations where, I mean, obviously your partners are probably well rested while you are completely exhausted. So there's another layer of complexity here. And they have a job, not necessarily to beat you up, but to wear you down. You know, how do you switch this mindset of, oh, hold on, if I go 100% here, I'm going to be dead in 30 seconds. I still have so many rounds to go. So I have to be smart about this. I have to make smart decisions. How do you make that switch mentally from the old school way of training to the new way of
I think we all had that day when we couldn't train for a couple weeks and we show up to the gym and smash everybody. Make that not like the 2 weeks rest, but make that like the viewing point of like this is where I'm at my best. And after having enough of these days and enough of the other type of days where it's the opposite, and after actually been going even through some health stuff that maybe has to do with like years of overtraining, then like in the past year, I've been having my heart rate like fly up from nothing, and I had like they pulled me from a fight because I had like low blood platelets and different stuff that like platelets for example from a virus I had. I don't know if I had COVID or something, but to me it feels like I got sick from overtraining. You know what I mean? At some point I'm just like, you know what? I'm not in a hurry to fight. I lost my last fight. I'm gonna rebuild myself the way I feel now is the best way, which is training, recover, training, recover. And so far, it's feeling pretty good.
Good for you. Good for you. Let's pivot this a little bit. Let's make a turn here. What do your brothers think about all this?
My brothers?
Yeah.
They they know it's me. It's like my parents. They know this is what I am. This is who I am. They're happy for me, for my success. They know there's also a lot of hardship.
Yeah.
They're very supportive of that. And yeah, since I started training, they knew like it was clear from the beginning, like this is my life now. This is everything to me.
Do you remember the conversation? Do you remember the conversation with your parents or with your mom particularly that this is what you're going to be doing for a living? This you want this to be your life? Like, has that ever happened, or did it just gradually kind of faded into that?
I think it's probably like 2 things. One, I wasn't doing so well in school ever in my life.
Okay.
And like I said, 10th grade, I started training, and then it was like gear in my backpack. And just waiting for school to be over. Slowly started going less to school. And like, obviously you have this conversation with your mom, like, what are you going to do with your life? You don't go to school. You're always training. I'm like, yeah, but mom, this is what I want to do. I want to be a coach one day. At the time, I'm like a white belt. Yeah, but I'm like, mom, I'm going to be a sensei one day. Okay, but maybe you should have a plan B. And I'm like, no plan B, mom. All in, whatever. I'm like, Cobra Kai again. And a different conversation is one day I show up after school, after training, whatever, and my mom's doing the dishes. And I'm like, Mom, can I go with my coach to train in Okinawa this summer in Japan? And she's like, she's doing the dishes. She's not even paying attention. She's like, yeah, honey, sure, you can. I'm like, sweet. I get my flight ticket. I show up the next day. Mom, I got my flight ticket. What are you talking about? To where? to Okinawa. Yesterday you said it was okay. You gave me like the green light. What? When are you going? Who are you going with? I want to meet your coach. So sure, I already had the ticket. I already had the green light. And yeah, that summer between 11th grade and 12th grade, I flew to Okinawa with my coach. And that was a crazy experience as well.
So what happens in Japan? You fly into Okinawa. First of all, that's a very different culture, very different country, right? From Israel to Japan. I mean, that's like almost black and white in a sense, right?
Yeah, very different.
But I assume you don't speak any English. You don't speak any language at that point, right?
No, and we had no idea. Again, no Instagram, no Google, none of that stuff.
What year is this?
Maybe Google 2008.
Okay.
There's an iPhone, but I can't afford one. Like iPhone first generation, or I think the second one came out while I was in Okinawa. I thought I only watched like Karate Kid 2. That's my only vision of Okinawa. And we show up there. I see, okay, there's actually a little town. We get a small room with bunk beds. And we start looking for Master Shinjo. This is a karate master we saw on Discovery Channel. I can send you the video after this. And in the video, he's demonstrating like some techniques, how he's breaking, pieces of wood with like his thumb, with his fingers, with his toes. Pretty impressive for us at the time. And we know he's like 9 dan. 8 dan is the top in the world in this style, which is considered very hardcore and also connected to the Kung Fu style what we're doing. It's like 2 pieces of a puzzle. And so we get to Okinawa. We don't know any Japanese. People there don't speak barely any English. And we start looking for him. We bought bicycles. We're riding around town and just looking for it with our eyes. We're just looking for the gym.
So for those who are listening, first of all, you see him on videos. You have no contact with him. You've never met him. You've never talked to him. Nobody even knows him. So you get a ticket. You fly out to Japan with a hope to look for him. All you know that he's somewhere there. You get on a bicycle and you just go down the street. And what, you ask for him? I mean, how do you look for him?
It's like no plan. It's just we found a dojo. We hear like my coach is like, stop, listen. Hey, this way. We like hear people doing like kiai
training,
training. We go, it's a Kyokushin gym that was also like on some Way of Warrior show or something like that. The Kyokushin, the coach is there. I'm like, hey, I know this guy from TV, but no, it's not the gym we're looking for. We go to City Hall the next day, and we show the lady like the video. She starts looking for him in the phone book. Okay, she finds him in the phone book. She gives us the address. Just a lady at City Hall. We get on a taxi. We give him the address. He takes us there, puts us down, drops us off somewhere. And we're like, where is it? We start looking around. We can't see it. We see an old Japanese grandmother watering her plants, minding her own business. I'll never forget this. We show her the address. We're sure it's like, he dropped us off here. It's got to be like around here. She's like, oh, come with me. Get in the car. We're like, oh, no, please just show us, where it is. She's like, please, come in the car. She drives us for 30 minutes to the right location.
So the taxi guy took you to a wrong location? Or
he took us to a wrong location. And the Japanese woman that was minding her own business drove us for 30 minutes. This means she's got another 30 minutes to go. She's an hour deep to help 2 people she doesn't know. She's never met. 1 hour of her time, if not more, for people she doesn't know. This is what I call like kindness.
Yeah.
We show up at the gym. We show up at the dojo. You mind if we take a 2-minute break? I'm going to turn up the AC and
Go ahead.
go to the bathroom.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry, I had a cold last week. That's why I canceled, and I'm still suffering from
worries.
it. So,
No worries. Not a problem. Not a problem at all whatsoever.
all right. So I put you in a cliffhanger.
Yeah,
We
I
get
know.
to
I'm
the dojo.
waiting. I want to know what happened. I want to know what happened. So you get to that place.
We get to the dojo. We see the legendary Shinjo Sensei, and his students are training, very hard. We come in. My coach, goes first. He's like, hello, yeah, we came all the way from Israel to train with you. And the sensei, he has like a student with him translating because he doesn't speak any English. The guy is like translating, is like telling him, and he's like, Shinjo Sensei is not accepting students. We will refer you to a different gym. He's like, where are you staying? We're like, in Naha. He's like, oh, I have a good dojo for you in Naha. No, please, we came all the way from Israel to train with you. He's like, again, just trying to refer us to a different coach.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you, bye-bye. We leave. We did not get accepted. So the next morning, we show up, we bought mangoes, which in Japan is very expensive. It's like a really fancy box with like 3 of them. Like wrapped in bubble wrap so it doesn't get damaged. And we bring it to him, 7 a.m. or something, we're outside his house. We see him. The dojo is like 1 floor, and the floor above it is his house, all concrete. We see him like looking at us from his balcony, and he's like, what the hell do they want? Comes downstairs, and we're like, in Japanese, oshiete kudasai. It's like, please teach us. All of a sudden, he knows a little bit of English, and he's like, no, cannot, goodbye. Please, we give it to him, please. And he's like, I send you sensei name. Like, I'm going to send you a different sensei name. You can go train with him. So we pulled the same stunt the next day and the next day. Like this for 5 days. Every time we bring him a gift and ask him to teach us, until one day he says, okay. Every day he speaks also a little bit more English. Like he was playing with us the first day. He knows English very well, but he didn't want to talk to us.
You didn't want to talk. Yeah.
He didn't want to talk. So every day he speaks a little bit more English. At the end, it's like still with a heavy accent, but okay, today, 12 o'clock, go Shoreido. It's like a shop in Naha for gear. Buy gi. Come training tonight at dojo. Okay, we go back to Naha. And on the way, we see a gi store. And I tell my coach, hey, he wants us to bring, white gis. Let's buy this one. And he says, no, Sensei said at 12 o'clock at Shoreido, we need to buy it. And he was right, because it was a test. We show up at 12 o'clock to Shoreido, and he's there. He tells them what gi we need. It's expensive gis. They're really nice. They're like, $200 a gi. And he tells them what gi to make for us. They make it like custom to your body. And then that same night, we went to the class. The class was also a test. He had my coach sparring one of his black belts. They went very hard, and my coach, had, I think, the upper hand. And then I was sparring like some brown belt. Japanese guy with long hair, like savage, screaming at me, kiais and stuff. I'm like, we're used to punching in the face. Over there, it doesn't they don't do that. But like I punch him in the face, they like, stop, don't do that. Okay. I catch his gi, I grab his gi, like start throwing knees to the body. Like we were savage. We were training like in savage ways. And they're like, no, you can't grab the gi, don't do this, don't do that. I think I pretty much like beat the guy even like with their rules. And then we got accepted, and I trained there for like a full month that summer.
I mean, I'm listening to you, and like this is a crazy story.
I'm 16, by the way.
I know. I mean, that's insane. Like, look, a lot of people go through their life and they achieve different things, and they, maybe they're successful, may or maybe not. Some of them are just coasting, kind of doing their thing. And you are talking about at age of 15, 16, doing all of these things, flying literally across the globe, looking for a guy that you've never met. Then you're literally begging him for a week to accept you on. Then you go through all these tests, and then you have this opportunity to train with him. And many would consider that one in a lifetime opportunity, because he was not accepting anybody. You somehow convinced him to do it. What did it feel like to be there as the only one from your country, from out? I would imagine probably from outside of Japan. Were there any non-Japanese individuals in the?
There were since there's so many bases there, so there were some people who are Marines and stuff like that who are not Japanese, but they have to be referred. You can't just show up and train. They were doing the same style in America, and then their teacher asked the master to train them while they're in America.
What is your mindset when you go through this? After all these tests, you training there. You train there for this whole month. You're learning from the source, the original source. What's going through your mind? How do you feel about this?
I'm a lucky boy.
You are?
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, very lucky. And also I feel like, I'm living in a movie. And same thing, one time during that month in Okinawa, obviously training was, brutal. I went there for a month. Then I came back to Israel, did my last year of school, which, barely did anything, but I had to be there. And then I flew for 3 months in Okinawa. Now, the first time I was there for a month, it was hard training, but I had a lot of fun. Okinawa is beautiful. The people are amazing. Nothing like it in the world. And good experience. The second time, I went there for 3 months.
Okay.
Right after I graduated, and it was hell on earth.
Why?
Because I was like uchideshi. Do you know this? It's how would you say? It's like a personal student of the master. It's like
okay.
You're not just a guy training there. You're like
apprentice?
Apprentice, exactly.
Uh-huh.
So me and my coach were his apprentice. And he gave us, back to white belt, both of us. And he was controlling our daily life. It wasn't like the first time where it was like training in the morning, go hang out, go to the beach, ride our bicycle in Naha, training again in the evening. It wasn't like that. It was every day, go to school. Now, what is school? It's an actual high school that is like a private school. Every school in Okinawa, you need a school black belt to graduate. So you choose one style of karate, and since it's a very high level private school, they bring the best masters. So they bring Shinjo sensei. And we came there as assistants.
Wow.
Assistants. And so one class, like from 7 a.m., one class would learn karate. It'd be like, 13-year-olds, whatever. I'll be training with them. Class is over, different class comes in. I'm still training with them another hour. Break. You got to get the masters. There's a few karate masters there in the room. You got to get everybody water. You got to carry your master's bag. Every time you walk into a building, you're always with him. Every time you walk into a building or a house, he takes off his shoes, right, in Japan. You got to turn his shoes over the other way, so when he comes back, they're already pointed the right way for him to just walk out while you're carrying his bag. Well, you need to do this with your own shoes. This is in the break time. Then another 2 classes, break time, another 2 classes. So I'm training already like 6 hours a day before noon. Then you go home for like only a few hours, and we would ride our bicycle to the gym. And it was like 25 miles, like 1.5, 2 hour bicycle ride uphill. And then we would train for like another 2-3 hours in the evening, and then ride back. At least this was downhill.
I mean, it's like listening to you. It's almost like watching or listening to a movie. Like it is kind of crazy. You see these movies or stories about old school Japanese senseis and old school Japanese cultures, and you literally live through all of this. Like you witness as a first hand. When you're coming back home after these sessions, do you feel like things are different at home? Like, do you feel weird about it after being in such a strong, culture-driven environment, coming back home where things are very different?
Yeah, I was, I think maybe for a year, I was still in shock, for real. Like I was, I don't know, depressed or I don't know what it was, but the time there was so hard for me. Another thing, obviously I was young. I flew with my bar mitzvah money, and it ran out fast. It's not that much money, and I was a kid. I didn't know how to handle money, how to, oh, I want this, I want that. Excuse me. And money went by real fast, and I find myself that I'm like 2 weeks in or whatever. I only have a few $100s left, and I need to live this whole time with that money. And my parents are not rich or anything. Nobody could send me too much money. My father would send me maybe like $100 every like 3-4 weeks. So I would live on like just a few bowls of rice a day. I would train like this hard all the time. I lost like 20 pounds during those 3 months. Doing, all this stuff for the master, being like under constant stress, and the training also was very hard, and there was so much like above the training. It's hard to explain. You're like, what's the big deal? You got to turn somebody's shoes. You got to, give them their drink. But it's like, even after training, the Japanese love to go out and drink. 20 people in the table, you got to take care of everybody. You're like a servant, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Make everybody's drinks, take care of everyone's shoes, carry the bags. Every time you do something wrong, you get scolded. Just a very tough time. Sometimes you go out so late that instead of like going home, he tells you, hey, just sleep in the dojo. And he'd pull out this like mat. It's just some bamboo connected with like a wire. He'd sleep on this bamboo for like 3-4 hours because they wanted to go out and sing and karaoke and drink, and you're suffering every moment of it. And then you got to also sleep on the bamboo and wake up in the morning and go straight to school. You didn't bring anything, not your toothbrush, not fresh clothes. You have your gi from like last night training. It just sucks. And
now looking at all of this in a retrospect, was it worth it?
Of course. It's the most nostalgic time of my life. It's what made me who I am. And at some point, I understand also what it did.
What did it do?
One thing is like, I don't think I needed it, but like humbling and like just going through a hardship. I don't know how to say it. Like today, yeah, we are soft. Training is hard. But it's like when somebody joins the military, it's not fun. But after 3 years in the military, they're a different person. They're built different. Their mindset is different. And same thing, I feel like that created somebody else. And when I came back from Japan, like I said, I was shocked. I wasn't sure, like, what am I, like, I wanted to run away from Okinawa every week. First, like after first week there, this time I was like, hey, this is not like last time. I'm not having fun. I told my coach, next week I'm flying back home. And he said, okay. We had like a big argument. I said, I'm going home. He said, okay, go home. And every week I'd be like, yeah, next week, that's it. Next week I'm flying home. I'm sick of it. Every week, next week I'm going home. And I had bought my ticket for 3 months. And at the end, like I just flew on my original return flight, right? And before I flew, I tested for black belt there.
Mm-hmm.
And I passed. And also like there were so many like tests along the way. Like one night we're done training and the sensei tells us, come upstairs, we're gonna have a drink. So he has a drink, we're just sitting there, and then he grabs a bottle of whiskey and he tells a guy, hey, bring me your foot. And like we have a position to all the toes where you can hit with the toes actually without them breaking.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you hit, that's how you kick with your toes. And he's gonna hit him with the toes with the bottle of whiskey. And he's like, hold Soksen, that's the position, hold it because I'm gonna hit you. And he's like, no, sensei, please, no, sensei, please, no. And he just lets go of his leg and like laughs like he's being a pussy. And then he's like, Natan, give me your foot. I give him the foot, I hold the Soksen, and he just hits me with the like whiskey bottle on the toes. And like, I thought like I had confidence in my toes, but I thought either they're gonna break or the bottle's gonna break, one or the other. But like nothing broke. He just, went at it for a few whacks, and he's like, good job. And that's it. Like we were released. You can go home now. Day of the test, I was gonna test for like Shodan, first degree black belt after, 4 months there in total. And my coach had spent more time there and obviously was more advanced. He was gonna test him for Nidan, second degree. I know in Jiu-Jitsu there is like first belt, black belt is no Dan, but that's crazy to me. So day of the test is like, day before is like, okay, tomorrow you two are testing for Shodan, good luck. And that like made a little bit of like, I don't know how to say, like a bad vibe between me and my coach, because my coach is like, why am I testing for black belt with my students? Like, he's my student and he's 100% right. And I was like, I didn't know like what to say. I was put in this position. I was like, sensei, don't worry, tomorrow I'm going to tell Shinjo sensei that I'm either testing for brown belt or I'm not testing at all. I'm not testing for the same rank as you are. And he's like, no, you shut up and we do what sensei says. And then we both test with our white belts on. That's like one of my last days in Okinawa. And we both do the test. He gives me a first degree black belt diploma and he gives him a second degree black belt. He was just messing with us. I don't know why. So many tests.
It seems like there's a lot of those little tests that are going on.
So many of them. And honestly, I would have failed so many if my coach wasn't there with me. But at the end of the day, the answer was always like, listen to exactly what he says and do exactly what he says, and everything's going to be fine. It's going to be not easy, but it's going to be fine. Came back from Okinawa. My coach was still there for like a full year. And so I had no coach. I was still shocked from like the whole period. It was not fun. And I had no really like motivation in training, but slowly I got back to it and I opened up my own gym. That was my goal always. I was now a black belt. I could do it. But also in the meantime, I started watching UFC again. It was around UFC 100. My friend is like, you got to watch UFC. And I used to watch it, but in my mind, I'm like, bro, that UFC stuff, that MMA stuff, it wouldn't work against the finger strike to the throat and against this and that. And he's like, bro, just come watch UFC 100. It's going to be crazy. They got GSP, Frank Mir. And he shows me a video of Frank Mir when he knee bars Brock Lesnar to kind of hype me on the fight. And I was like, whoa, this jiu-jitsu stuff, it's not that bad actually. When he does like the scissor sweep to the knee bar. Yeah. And then we watched UFC 100. It was great. And then we started watching UFC. At the time, it was once a month. So every month we watch UFC together with me and my boy at like 5 a.m. in Israel. And I'm teaching and I'm building my gyms. And I have like one gym. And after a year, I open another gym and I'm doing great. I'm successful. I'm making a lot of money for my age. But at some point, I'm start thinking, maybe I want to do that MMA stuff. Maybe I want to do that. And Machida is also like, oh shit, he's a karate guy. And he's doing it. Maybe I can do it. And at age 22, I decide like, I'm thinking about it all the time. What actually happened is I was thinking about it all the time. But then one day, my coach, they were going to do like an Ultimate Fighter in Israel, like a copy. And my coach writes in the group chat, anybody want to do this show, you're going to be in a house, there's going to be a tournament of MMA fights. And I'm like, I'm in, I want in. He's like, okay, they should do like some tests, some trials in a month or so. So I grabbed my friend who's a brown belt in judo, which is everything I got. And we start grappling and training together. And I start running and putting on gloves and like sparring my karate friends, with gloves and going a little bit like harder to the face. The show never happens. It gets canceled. But I've been training MMA for a month and there's no going back. This is what I want to do. So I buy a plane ticket to Vegas. Once again, I don't know anybody. I have no idea where I'm going. But I get on the flight to Vegas and I show up. I like rented a room at like with some Israeli guys that live here that I found online. And I show up. I think I'm going to train at Extreme, but that's like the only thing I have in my mind. A friend of my older brother tells me, I got this cousin of mine who lives in Vegas. Maybe you can meet him. So I meet him for lunch. And he's actually friends with Jimmy Giff, a boxing coach that turned MMA coach. So, through this guy that knows this guy that knows this guy, I'm lucky enough to meet Coach Giff. And he's like, okay, let's train, get in your fight stance. I get up all like sideways, like a karate guy. And he's like, oh, fuck.
We got work to do.
Yeah. He's like, what is that? Okay, hit the bag. So I start hitting the bag like a madman, because in Israel, it's a small country.
Yeah.
And a small country has a small dojo.
Mm-hmm.
And we have one bag for 30 people. So a bag work is I go for 10 seconds, and then I go to the back of the line, and then you go, and he goes, and then I got a ton of rest before it's my 10 seconds again on the bag.
Yeah.
So I go crazy, and I throw 100 spinning back kicks, and everything that I can to impress him. And slowly I slow down, and I look at the clock, and I realize there is a clock, and it's set for 5 minutes, and I got like four more minutes to go, and I'm dying. I keep going with whatever I can. Obviously, I wasn't ready for it. Then he starts holding pads for me. I'm already gassed, but I do my best. He starts to show me stuff. I'm missing my punches on the mitts. But I'm giving it everything I got. And by the end of the session, I'm throwing in the trash can. But he says, I think you're rough. I'm like, what does that mean, sir? He's like, I think like you're green. There's a diamond in the rough. We gotta clear the dirt, and maybe there's a diamond underneath there. I think I see potential. I'm like, thank you, sir. He's like, I'm gonna train you. Like, he's like, what's your goal? Obviously, I'm like, I want to be in the UFC. He's like, that's gonna take 10 years of hard work. Are you willing to put in 10 years of hard work? I'm like, yes, sir. Are you willing to do everything I say? Yes, sir. And it's a very nice gym we're at. It's a private gym. And he's like, you see, this gym is very nice. I'm like, yes, sir. He's like, that means we're going to have to work twice as hard as everybody to not get soft. Yes, sir. Okay, we start training. From the fundamentals to like fighting so hard to like remove like some very bad habits. And I don't have a visa yet. So what I do is I train with him for 3 months. And then I fly back home.
Yeah.
For 6 months to work and save money. Now what I did, foolish me, young me, naive, is I gave my gyms away to friends. I gave my students away because I thought that was the right thing to do. I'm like, my heart is no longer fully in karate. I still love karate. I wanted to still do it. I wanted to represent it in MMA. But I want to move to Las Vegas and be a fighter. So I can't be there for my students. And for me, that commitment was like more important than money. So I just gave, okay, you guys, you're from this area, go train with this guy. You guys go train with this guy. But I got back home and I have none of my businesses anymore. Now I got to work security. Yeah. Now I got to work security at night to save money. And that's what I do for 6 months. Go back again to training with Coach Giff. And also he takes me to Syndicate where I start doing my MMA training, and I do my jiu-jitsu with Fritz and Paishao, my first jiu-jitsu coach.
Let me ask you this. As I'm listening to this entire story, there's few things that repeat throughout your life. One is the fact of making your mind up on something and then just going and doing it. And trip to Japan is one of them. Moving to Vegas is another one. Like, you don't know anybody. You just pack up your stuff and you go. A second one that I'm noticing is the fact that you meet somebody that you look up to, and then you will do anything and everything that they ask you to do with 100% commitment. Where does this come from? I mean, people don't do this. People, first of all, people will not travel today to Japan just because they want to meet somebody and they don't even know where to go. That's one. But even more importantly, I think people's commitment today, it's far from what you are talking about. Today, people want to come and train, things get hard, and they quit. Or they move somewhere else. Or this guy promised me something else. And they switch. They move a lot. And this is not what you are describing. What you're describing is, no, I'm going to do anything and everything that you tell me to do to achieve this goal. Are you ready to work for 10 years to get to this goal? Yes, sir. I mean, that's your answer. Where is this coming from? Where is this? Where is this coming from?
Man, I don't know. I don't know where it comes from. But I feel like for me, like when somebody helps me, they get my loyalty, you know? And especially if somebody helps me out of the goodness of their heart and puts time in me above and beyond what they're supposed to, whether it's they're not supposed to do anything, like, Coach Giff, or like my first coach who brought me to private training and stuff like that. Well, I was only paying like the basic gym membership and I was getting privates every day and whatnot. Like, on one hand, I feel like as a coach nowadays, if I see a student gives so much, I want to give him back and I want him to improve. So I relate to that sentiment, but still I feel like nobody owed me anything, but they gave me so much. So the least I can do is put in maximum effort and like give them my loyalty.
Good for you. I mean, that's really something different that most we see all around the world today. So my head goes off to you. I mean, there's a lot of respect to you.
Thank you.
It's, not a lot of people do this. Before we start wrapping this up, we've been at this for over an hour, but I want to ask you this. Have you ever gone back to Japan and to visit your sensei after all these years?
I went to Japan, but I trained in Kyokushin karate the last 3 times that I was there. So since 2017, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't go to Okinawa, one, because the opportunity was not there. But two, unfortunately, the last thing that like my master in Japan told me was like, don't do MMA.
I see.
He told me like MMA is a dogfight. Please, keep with the karate with respect. Like obviously it comes from him not understanding it and coming from a completely different culture.
Yeah, different perspective. Yeah.
Different perspective. And, a lot of times I think people like, we all seen that meme where like you see a guy with a gi and it's like traditional martial arts, respect, honor, this, that. And then you see a guy without a shirt, like shorts, fight shorts, and it's like MMA fighting, trash talk, this, that, and like making it sound like it's doing worshiping Satan. Bro, it's the same thing. We're just not wearing the pajamas and
it's all about perspective. It's always all about perspective.
Yeah, it's just trying to like smear it because it's doing something different and cool in my mind better.
Yeah.
But it's two sides to the same coin. Like I wouldn't want to run an MMA gym one day. Or like, I got in the way from it, from like bowing and stuff like that. But like I wouldn't want an MMA gym where like people talk smack on the mats, like they do sometimes in boxing gyms, and like trash talk and sparring. And like, if you're my student and you act this way, you're gonna get like slapped over the head, because I'm always gonna be a karate practitioner, karate person, that's always going to be like my mindset, because those are the years which I became myself, in Okinawa. And yeah, I cooled down a little bit. Here in Vegas, first, every sparring session was like bowing. Now it's like, yo, let's do this, I'm more cool about it, but it's still in me.
Yeah, deep roots, very deep roots in there. Nathan, before we start wrapping this up, what I do at the end of every episode, I have a question for you from a previous guest. So he asked a question for you, but he didn't know that you're going to answer that question. So think about a question completely in blind, right?
Yeah.
So Ben Van Doren, one of the black belts in Midwest, we had a great conversation, and he asked, and it's so fitting here, actually. So coincidentally, it happens that way. His question is, where would you travel to open a gym or academy, but to make the biggest impact?
I think it has to be Israel, because, the MMA there is growing a lot more than when I got started, but it's still not where I want it to be. And I feel like after, 11 years in the US, fighting in the UFC, and now I've also helped like mentor young Israeli fighters to get to high level pro, and they're going to be in the UFC soon. I feel like this is where I could make the most impact. And this is, a discussion I'm having with myself and with my wife often about like where our life goes from here and after retirement, and where would I want to open a gym, because I know I will do that. On one end, in America, it would be easier, cheaper, more people, more likely to be financially successful. But, I'm not a rich kid, but I was privileged enough to have enough money to fly to Vegas. Even if I needed to eat tuna cans most of the day, and same thing, I rode my bicycle to GIF every day for 25 miles like I did in Okinawa. Even with these things, I could still afford to get to Vegas, and I could still afford to buy a bicycle. Some people can't even do that. So I want to be able, like Americans, they cross the road, they have an MMA gym. For me, just to get to America, and with the visa, and every time I had to leave after 3 months, and I did that for 4 years before I even had my first amateur fight. Because every time I would ask GIF to fight, and he would say, not yet, you're not ready, not yet. Then he said, you're ready, but pull-outs and different things made it like that I didn't fight. And I want to make it easier for other Israeli up-and-comers, easier than it was for me, because for me, everything was a struggle. And I just want to help them not waste years on flying back and forth and saving the money. No, you're in Israel, have a little job, do some Uber deliveries, and train twice a day with me and other high-level coaches. And we're going to get you to the UFC or to a world title or to wherever your potential can get you, because you're not getting stopped by finance, you're not getting stopped by visas and all that stuff. That's what I want for the future of MMA in my country.
Good for you. Good for you. And I hope you get it. And from the work ethic that you have talked about today, and the commitment and devotion to and passion that you show, I'm confident that a lot of that will come true. And, I'll be sitting back, and now, since we had this conversation, I'll be just watching you as you changing all of this. Because I'll tell you, again, I said this before, I say it again, the work ethic that you've shown, in your life, and what you talk about today, this story is mind-blowing to me. I've talked to many people, and I don't think I've ever seen anybody who works so hard and is so committed to the cause that they have in their mind. It's good for you. Good for you.
Thank you.
Good for you. You should be proud of this. Nathan, before we wrap this up, if anybody wants to find you, if anybody wants to visit you, connect with you, where are you at? Where are you available?
Available at Natan Levy, NATAN_LEVY on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. And right now we're actually doing a cool thing. I can invite everybody to watch it. It's called Ultimate Self-Defense Championship. There's season 1. I'm on season 2. It's 6 martial artists put together in self-defense challenges. It's a competition on YouTube. There's 5 episodes that are out right now, and the finale is next week, Sunday. And it's really worth a watch. It's me, a jiu-jitsu black belt, a karate black belt, Jeff Chen, if anybody knows it, from MMA Shredded. Just a good group of people competing in self-defense fights. It's fun. I advise you to watch it. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for listening to RŌL Radio. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to leave us a review and help us make the show even more amazing. For future episodes, check out our website and follow us on all major podcast platforms. Take care.